thing about tonight is listening to everybody, and it's all about perspective. And one of the things that we were discussing earlier at our table was perspective, and how far is it from Athens to Columbus? And it was said that it was about an hour and 15 minutes, and I said, I don't agree. I said, if it's about 1 a.m. and you want to get to the White Castle, it takes you about an hour. So for those of you who have done that at 1 a.m. back in the 70s, you'll know you can do it in less than an hour. With that being said, if tonight is about perspectives, I was surprised and honored to actually get the call to receive the Medal of Merit tonight. And one of the things that I'd like to do is first thank my wife, Melissa, my 3 boys, Jeffrey, Michael, and Joshua, who's raising his hand, to tell them how they are the platforms that enable me to do some very exciting and interesting things. But it also gave me a chance to reflect upon the 4 years that I had here at Ohio and some of the wonderful things that happened on that journey. And it was a journey of tremendous growth and learning, and one which has contributed to me in so many different ways and in so many thoughtful ways that I thought I would share a couple of key stories with you along that journey. Well, first, I came from Southeast Florida, where we saw the sun most of the time, so there was a difference in terms of what we saw here. And we do have some former people from Florida at our table tonight. But it was also different in many other ways. You know, I grew up in upper middle class background and the son of 2 shopkeepers, and I came right to mainstream Ohio, where my first day in the dorm, where my roommate next door actually was Peter King, who's now done fairly well for himself. Wow. They put mustard underneath my door handle to welcome me into Ohio. So I got to learn that, you know, what you saw on the top wasn't always what was on the bottom of things. And you know, having left the small school, my first class, I left, you know, a small school, I had about 20 per class, and I went into my first classroom and I was very excited. It was kind of a radio TV thing, and walked in and there were 350 other people in the class. And I realized at that time that the ball was in my court. And it was not something where I was going to get nurtured. It was not something where someone was going to say, come on, let me pull you along. It was something where if you wanted to achieve something, they would put it in front of you, but in fact, you had to do it yourself. And I was a journalism major. And as a journalism major, the great thing is that the teachers were conceptual, but they were very pragmatic, and they were very real in what they tried to teach us. It was great clarity. It was about observation skills. It was about really getting to the facts of things and understanding how to craft ideas so that other people could understand those ideas. They also taught us very clearly the difference between advocacy and between telling the truth and what was real, and that view of accuracy and balance. Now, while my classes were informative and provided me with functional learning and great stuff that you can say you took in a class, it was actually all of my experiences outside the classroom that leave the most indelible moments for me at Ohio University. There were 2 areas in which I spent a tremendous amount of time. One was at WOUB TV and radio, and the other was at the Bobcat Athletic Department, there primarily with the wrestling coach, Harry Huska, who's at my table tonight. And for those of you who don't know Harry, who's retired now, in the time that he coached, he won 12 Mid-American Conference Championships and leading the wrestling team. If you take all the other athletic championships that were won by the men's athletic department during his tenure, he won 2x what they won in aggregate on the rest of that. And so that really speaks, though, to him as a man. At WOUB Radio and TV, though, I had an amazing experience because it was an amazing laboratory that was crafted by the university and by the state for us to work in. The one story that I'll share very quickly with you was I learned about preparation in an interesting way when Bruce Cuthbertson called me up and said, kid, the guy who's supposed to go to Columbus and interview Bill Simon in the '76 election with Jerry Ford is sick. You're going. So they put me in a car with a guy with a television camera and gave me some notes from the person, and I thought, well, I can figure this one out. And went and stuck my microphone in front of Bill Simon's face at the press conference, asked him a question, which he obviously didn't want to answer, because he then asked me if I had ever taken a history class or done anything to study what had happened in our nation before in front of 40 other people. Thinking that I didn't want to say anything bad about OU at that point, I just ended up closing down and moving on. Now, what did I learn in that? Never go unprepared. Thrice cut, or once, 3 times measured, and once cut is the way we should all prepare and live our lives, so that we make sure that we walk in knowing the game that we're in. In the Ohio University Athletic Department, I was given the opportunity to make a difference in multiple ways. One of the ways, which came through Harry, was first running the Mid-American Conference Wrestling Championships as a student, coordinating that and bringing things together in a complex way, and then running the track and field championships and understanding how to work with multiple constituencies in different and complex ways. Something that a student wouldn't normally be given to do, but I was able to do that. But I also became a very dear friend of the gentleman that I was talking about, Harry. And Harry taught me something very interesting. Now, Harry, first of all, had a reputation. Now, he had a thing where he would give pie to people if they kind of, helped get the other team to make some noises and do all sorts of other things which were rather aggressive on the wrestling mat. So he was a very aggressive coach. But what he was really most aggressive with was getting into what you were as an individual and understanding what your potential was. He was only tough on those who could. And those who couldn't, he was a man of tremendous empathy and a man of tremendous learning and a man of tremendous wisdom. And what he showed me was that with grit, determination, and preparedness, and a backbone, you could do almost anything that you wanted to do. And he taught us that together as a team and individually as team members, we could build champions. And not just on the mat, but in people. And that's what universities are about. They're about the great teachers, the great coaches, and how they come together in a university to make us great. So, the company that I run today has 31,000 people. We sell 200 million pairs of shoes. But what's really important is that we also serve communities, and universities serve communities. And so for me to be honored by such a great community as Ohio University, and to be honored, I really throw that honor back to you, and back to someone as special as Harry and his lovely wife, Judy Huska, who are here with us tonight. So Harry, this one's for you. Thank you.